Hey, it's your friend Mike O'Neill, the new My 97.5 Afternoons.
And Mike Pesto with you every single morning. My mornings, if you prefer saying it that way. We are here on YouTube. Love it when you watch. Follow us, like us, all of our socials, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, our website. We post a lot of stuff there as well, my975fm.com. And I know you have something big you want to get to, something that those in power in Washington, D.C., are weighing in on a regular basis.
I think I know why the government shut down. This is what they're worried about.
This is what started the whole thing.
This is what you're spending time on? While people are getting fired?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. But I wanted to ask you, because of some big news that broke earlier this week, and it may be something, reminded me of something that happened a year or so ago with Linkin Park. And their former lead singer, Chester Benningfield, who took his own life years ago, and the group disbanded, and then they got to a point where they all still had a love of music. And they thought it's a shame, yes, that Chester went down that dark path and ended up doing what he did. And they miss him greatly, but they still have that love of wanting to put out new music. So they got themselves a new lead singer, Emily Armstrong,
right?
Who brings something different to the group. And there have been some who love it, some who hate it. But I thought of that because of some big news that broke earlier this week with a band I know you know and love.
You're going with this.
So the big news was,
indeed, guess who is going to be touring for 2026 after saying, oh, heck no, we're never going to tour again. That would be Rush. And I am stoked about that. I discovered them backwards. I discovered them on the second album, the Fly By Night album.
Okay.
Then I found the first album. Holy crap, that's good. And then every album that came out thereafter, everyone was amazing. And the first concert I got to see by them, don't be jealous, was 2112.
oh, wow.
And guess where I saw it? And why it matters.
The Hollywood Bowl?
At the then Forum.
Oh, wow.
And why is that cool? Mm-hmm. Where are they coming through next year?
They're Kia. Is that the same venue? Okay, so they just branded it differently, but the same venue.
Forum.
So back where they started when they first performed in LA.
It's not as fabulous as it used to be, but yeah, isn't that great? In fact, I learned about how concert sound really works that year, because if you ever see a Rush concert, it's plenty loud enough to blow you out of your head. And I decided to crash and go downstairs and run all the way up front to see the big giant amplifiers on stage that were cooking my ears that night. And I got up there, and Alex Lifeson had two Fender, just little 212 amps, because he was in stereo. And that was it, because they were mic'd and up in the giant sound system above. But because I had been to so many concerts in the 70s and 80s where, a bunch of stage-level amps torching everybody in the front row. But that's not how it works.
Now, you may be wondering, if you follow Rush a little bit but didn't hear this news, okay, how are they able to go on tour? It's just the two of them now.
Yes.
Their drummer passed away, was it
Neil
10
Peart.
years or so ago? Arguably somewhere within the top 3 to 5 drummers of all time. I have him at number 1.
For real. He's 2 for me, but yeah, because of different styles. John Bonham will always be my number 1. He was so far ahead of his time for Zeppelin.
And as far as being integral for the group, he wrote all of their songs.
Right.
And actually at one point, Neil Peart, as phenomenal as a drummer as he was, started caring about how it looked with him behind that massive drum array that he had. So he learned from others. I mean, how cool is that? You're at the top of the mountain. You're considered one of the best drummers of all time, but you're still taking notes and getting pointers from others who maybe they make it look a little better. So he worked on that aspect of his performance as well, as not just be able to do what he did.
But that tells me he had professional humility, which I respect greatly. He could still learn from others.
So with his passing, you're thinking, well, they're going to have a drum machine? No, you can't have a drum machine with Rush. So Annika Niles or Nilles, I've heard different pronunciations with it.
I think it's Annika Nilles.
Annika, okay.
She's German. But you know what's crazy is this gal has already toured with Jeff Beck.
Yep.
And that doesn't happen by accident. Somebody at Beck's level. And I got on and saw a lot of the videos that are being posted now with her.
Okay.
she's got that parrot thing with that incredible syncopation.
Okay.
The triplets that he would jack on the big bass drums. A triplet is when you hit 3 notes in the time space that most people hit 1, and Neil Peart lived there, and I think she's going to get it done. I'm excited because of what I've seen to see what she brings to these songs that I know so well.
One thing that they did mention in talking about this, and she hasn't talked, it's just been the 2 of the original members talking in videos that I've seen to this point, is there is going to be some part of the concert in every venue. And there's only 2 stops in L.A. at the Kia Forum. And there's only 2 stops in L.A. for this entire run. And it's not a real long run. It's only 10 to 12 dates. That they're going to do something dedicated specifically to Neil. In the middle, towards the end, what that looks like, my envision is something up on the Jumbotrons where it starts with him and then segues to her. So maybe it's going to be very early on they'll do it, like as the concert is first starting, where you see him on the Jumbotrons, and then it goes right into the show.
You know what would be cool?
What's that?
If on one specific song, if Neil and Anika were trading off.
They could do it.
That would be, it would be a pain in the butt, but it would be
for her.
So,
yeah.
Yes.
And whoever's technically running it.
But you know what? As long as she's got her ears on and can hear everything, she could pull it off. But that would just be like, oh my God, that'd be so cool.
Speaking of performances.
Yeah.
There's a big one coming up in February.
Yeah.
You are familiar with it. The Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They have this every year. And every year, for the past 15, 20 years or so, there's a major artist that gets tapped to perform at the Super Bowl. Sometimes we find out very early on. Sometimes it's not towards the latter part of the season. We know now, as of a few weeks ago, who it's going to be. And it's going to be
Bad Bunny, ladies and gentlemen. And as always, as I can trust it to do, social media in polar America, as I like to call our country these days, with everything that's going on in this country, I found it astounding that some folks took issue with him being the Super Bowl show artist. I thought it was crazy because he's got a huge following. I'm familiar with it. I DJ'd weddings for years. I'm very familiar with Hispanic music, and I know that he's got a definite fan base and that the show's going to be excellent. But the polarity of it was just, really?
Well, the polarity didn't surprise me at all, honestly, because there's always been debate over the artists that they tap. For example, last year, Kendrick Lamar.
Right. A new urban artist, but very well received.
Well, he's been around for a long time. In fact, he was a part of...
New compared to The Who or Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
But I'll say contemporary artist is what I meant to say.
There you go. So, going back to 2022, he was a small part of the Super Bowl halftime show with Dr. Dre, Dogg, Snoop Dogg, Mary J. Blige, and Kendrick Lamar was a part of that as well. He had been around for a few years after. But, definitely more contemporary. But when he was announced, there was a collective who and why from a lot of people who aren't into hip-hop and R&B. So that raised some eyebrows. Usher, I think, to a lesser extent, he did the Super Bowl halftime show February of 2024. He's been around forever.
That should be part of immigration. If you don't know who Usher is, you can't come into the U.S.
Rihanna was the year before that. That's one that honestly surprised me. And she's one of those artists that you don't realize the extent of her catalog until you actually see a performance like that, and then you realize, oh, that's her. Oh, that's her.
Yeah.
Oh, that's her.
Yeah, she was actually. I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't think it was going to stink, but what you just said, I only know like 3 songs, and then I realized I knew about like 11 songs. I just forgot that I knew them, and that was a good show too.
The big surprise with that one, I remember, was she hadn't released a new album in years, like 3 or 4 years. So they were thinking, usually an artist, they release a new album, and then the timing on it works out perfect because the artists don't get paid to perform. It's all about their sales going up some 700, 800% after performing. Well, she had no new album to promote, so is her sales going to show an increase? And they did, but nowhere near what others saw.
Which, by the way, explains why we shall probably never see Miss Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl
Yeah.
show, because the artists that do it for exposure, which Taylor Swift does not need.
And then, if you remember, one of the weirdest Super Bowl halftime shows during COVID, and that was the reason why, The Weeknd's. If you remember his and him walking through that maze of mirrors, and there were no crowds there because
Yeah.
the Super Bowl was held without any fans in the stadium at all. He did the best he could with it. But if you do remember, that really launched him into the stratosphere.
But that had to be murder for him as a performer. Hey, my audience, which isn't here, and I'm getting nothing back.
No feedback at all.
Yeah, that had to stink, but he pulled it off with style.
I think you and I both agree on this. The reason why many, again, political figures as well, including the president and representatives as well, in Congress and the Senate, are weighing in on this negatively,
Yep.
is because he's mostly known as a Latin singer. Here's the thing, though, and I thought about this since I first saw it, and I kind of raised a little bit of an eyebrow as well. Have you noticed how many games this year with the NFL are being played overseas?
Yeah. It has become a thing.
Every weekend. It used to be there was maybe one or two games at the most every season would be held in London or Brazil or Germany. Now they're hitting every one of those countries. It seems like every weekend there's somewhere else. The NFL is doing everything they can to go international. And love him or hate him, Bad Bunny is an international star. Not as big on the I only speak English American stage, but on every other stage of the country or in the world, absolutely.
And the country is a melting pot after all. Every single different kind of people that it can exist in this country. And to not acknowledge all kinds of different music is silly.
Yeah, and we mentioned political figures. Marjorie Taylor Greene is, I think, trying to reintroduce legislation to make English the nation's only language that is acceptable. Now, what that's going to mean, even if that passes, how would that affect the Super Bowl, considering that, granted, they get some government because of the draft. I forget how it all works, but because they have their NFL draft, the government has to allow them to do that. You can't do that in other businesses. So they get some consideration for that. But outside of that, they're a business.
Yeah.
Who's the government to step in and say, this is who you can or can't have as a Super Bowl halftime performer?
Yeah. And I think another look at this, another way to look at it too, is that, like it or don't, the last, I can't remember how many, 5 or 6 or maybe even 7 Super Bowl shows have been some kind of contemporary artist.
Oh, yes.
What about for us old guys?
Yeah, and that's a great point, because as I listed some of the artists, you don't hear any rock artists.
Yeah.
You don't hear anything other than Latin, pop, R&B, hip hop. That you take that genre or genres out of the equation. In looking back, I can't remember the last time a rock artist performed. How great would it have been? Was it last year when Journey had that huge tour
Right.
with Toto?
Oh, that would have been so good.
And get both of them up on stage, or a little bit more consideration wherever the Super Bowl is held every year. Levi Stadium,
yeah.
Metallica,
Okay.
Huey Lewis and the News.
Yeah.
Any artist that is from that general area, the Bay Area.
Well, Metallica would have been a smash.
Yes.
See, that's just the thing. You and I are. I'm somewhat older than you are. For my generation, it was Zeppelin. For your generation, that same style of artist was Metallica. It would have been huge if they were a halftime.
And if you
Super Bowl artist.
If you follow them at all, if you see some of the venues that they play, there's some stadiums at this point that's too small for Metallica.
Yeah. But again, do the boys really need exposure?
Well, and
That might be the hard part.
And I wonder, are they not being asked? For those who book the Super Bowl shows, are they just in a mental rut where they're only looking at the Billboard Hot 100 and seeing what's there and picking artists that fall somewhere in the top 10 and say, okay, we want this artist, we want that artist, and looking for Bad Bunny on the Latin charts as well because they want to go international? Why aren't they looking at other genres?
I don't know, because The Who, that was awesome. Paul McCartney, that was spectacular. And I think I would love to see us going around the horn again. Metallica would be. I'm saying we should start a not a
campaign.
When you sign a petition, we should start a petition and send it off to the guys that are doing it and see what they think.
I just wonder if Metallica would sign that petition or not.